And the Razzie goes to...
Inchon! That's the movie that we watched this week.
I'm Will Purpura.
I'm Laura Merli.
And this week we're talking about Inchon 1982, winner of the Razzie Worst Picture.
Yes, the Razzies are an award show for movies that are actually bad. Typically, award shows are for good ones. This turns it on its head.
Yeah, so now we're 3 episodes deep. We're getting we're nailing it.
We're going in chronological order.
Best order imaginable.
Movies weren't bad before 1980. Is that when it started?
That's when it started. Everything was completely good.
Yeah, the train coming toward the people, classic.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great. Yeah.
Classic
the
film.
Moon, Trip to the Moon, where the rocket went into the moon's face.
Guys tripping.
Guys tripping, falling on banana peels.
Ladies getting tied to train tracks.
And the sinister-looking dude with a mustache.
He. I'm going to tie you to the tracks, except silent, because I don't think they talked yet, right?
No.
Were they still tying people to tracks by the time we started talking in movies? No, right?
No, I think that's when they retired it. They were like, all right, let's move on to something else.
It's interesting that crime doesn't happen anymore. People still kill people, but you never hear about people tying people to tracks.
No.
Here in New York, a lot of people fall.
I've heard of that.
Some people jump even.
I've heard of pushing.
Pushing, yeah.
Which is sad. I don't like hearing that.
No, I don't like hearing that at all. I stand really far back.
Me
just
too.
In case. Because you can't trust people around you, and I sometimes can't even trust myself.
I like to stay as far away as possible from the ledge.
But do you think in the olden times people did really tie people to tracks, or do you think that was just for the movies?
I think it probably was a thing because trains were so new.
So people were like, this is a new way to kill people.
Right. It's like, whoa, you're going to tie me to the tracks of this new thing that I don't even trust?
I'm not even going to get killed by something I know and love.
Right. That's something familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that back in the day, they thought that women shouldn't ride trains because they thought it would make their uteruses go all over the place?
Oh, my God. That's crazy.
It is crazy. You know, it's also crazy. You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
The film Inchon. Did you read up on this?
Yes.
That it was created to be propaganda.
Right.
To get people to join this religious cult. And I have to say, in terms of propaganda, not good.
No. It didn't make me want to join any cult.
No, it didn't even make me understand what I would want to join.
I walked away feeling more confused about that war.
Yes.
And that battle.
Than I ever have.
Yeah. So it did nothing. I also liked, this is the Reverend Sun Myung Moon who started, I think it's the United Church, which he started. They're kind of problematic. They're involved with a lot of Republican propaganda. I think they do the Washington something. Some newspaper that's like a very right-leaning newspaper. They do a lot of gun manufacturing. And then they wanted to do movies. And it was between this and then their other ideas was the biopic of Jesus or a biopic of Elvis. Or this.
Should have gone with either of the other two.
Or both.
Or both.
That would have been a fun...
Elvis as Jesus.
Elvis as Jesus.
It would have made me want to join something more.
Made me want to be a rock and roll.
The war movie didn't make me want to be a part of anything.
No.
It made me be like, oh, yeah, people are bad.
Everybody was bad.
Everybody was bad.
Everyone was bad. They like...
And then you don't even hear any religiousness until the very end of the movie.
Right.
Recap. That's what I'm going to do now. All right. So the movie Inchon opens with this lady who's running around a store and war is breaking out around her in South Korea. North Korea is invading South Korea. And she's in the store and they're like, war is coming. We got to get out of the store. And she's like, no. Wait, let me just get this one thing. And you're really thinking this has got to be something that is so important to the plot, so valuable to all people. If she's willing to risk her life to get this thing, we find out a few scenes later, It's just some furniture that she wants for her new apartment.
Yeah.
Not even like super, super antique rare furniture, just like regular furniture.
Yeah. Just one of the many nonsensical moves that people made. Yeah.
So then war is even closer. It's upon the shop.
Yes.
And her chauffeur gets shot.
That's right. Yeah.
So she runs out and she's got to drive the car.
Right.
And she's like, uh-oh. Like many later film heroines, especially in like Jurassic Park, she's wearing a very ineffective outfit for the struggle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
she gets in her car. We cut to this other dude I thought was going to be some really important guy in history. He's just some guy. He's just he's like a major. Is that what
it's not clear, but this person's made up.
Yeah, he's a made up guy. He's not exactly a foot soldier, but he's not that important either. He's something.
Yeah, this is Ben Gazzara, like the middle-aged guy.
Yeah, he's a middle-aged guy. He's living with his girlfriend and her parents. He's like, hey, war has broken out. So I'm going to go. His girlfriend's like, well, I want to stay here with my family. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, come on, it's war. Let's go. And she's like, no. So then he goes to her dad and he's like, I'm going to go kill some people. Her dad's like, do you remember how we used to stay up so many nights and talk about Buddhism and nonviolence and how important that was? And he was like, yeah, but I didn't really mean it.
I was just fooling.
I thought we were just like playing around, shooting the shit. Yeah, you know,
just making conversation,
just making stuff up.
Right. But I want to get out there in the war.
But now that war is here, I'm gonna join it.
Right.
And her dad's like, all right. Then we find out that this guy is actually still married.
Right. Yeah.
To the furniture lady.
Yeah.
They had some sort of breakup, but they didn't officially get divorced.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's unclear if this is a law or a formality. Furniture lady can't leave the country without army guy.
Right.
They need to link up, and so he can help her evacuate the country.
Yeah.
He's looking for her. He's going south. This is a time without cell phones, and it's so wild how people find each other.
Just by coincidence.
Just by like, there's so many times where people are just finding each other in the most random ways.
That's the way it used to be.
I guess that is kind of the way it used to be.
Someone would leave and then you'd have to find them again.
Yes. Yeah. And then he's got this friend who's also an army guy. He's an enlisted man. Mm. They're in South Korea. Everybody's going more south to evacuate. So there's like a huge, huge line of people who are all going down this one road. The North is coming in and just dropping some bombs, and there's a lot of just like people blowing up. Yeah. Which is, of course, sad because, like, you know, that really happened, is a real war, even if the characters were not really there, all of them. Yeah. But it's shot in the most boring way possible. We see the violence from almost like from afar. Mm-hmm. So there are points where I was like, did they intercut real war footage? Because it was from so far away and you couldn't really see people's like faces or expressions or anything.
It did look like stock footage from something else, and they just inserted it in there.
Yeah, it didn't flow.
Yeah. And then everything that required, like, okay, this is a set piece where we actually need the actors in there, where they do the lighthouse sequence later on. It looked so cheap.
Yes.
Where the lifeboat they were on, it just looked like, you know,
we'll get to that scene later. The lady's traveling down the road. Army guy's friend pops up out of nowhere and is like, hey, what's up? And she's like, oh, I miss you. Good to see you on the road to escape. And he's like, yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah.
And then she keeps driving. Oh, he gives her a gun.
Right.
He's like, you might need to kill somebody. I don't know who, but I just got that feeling because we are in war. And she's like, okay. Now, she's trying to drive on this super, super crowded road because all these people are trying to escape. So they're like, a lot of people are running on foot. Some people are in cars. A grandfather steps in front of her car on a bridge. And he's like, hey, you need to take my 5 grandchildren south because they need to get out of here. Reasonable request. She's got room in the car.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, but then they just get in the car anyway.
Right, yeah.
For some reason, without the grandfather.
He just stays behind.
He just disappears.
He's like, see ya.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know this lady, but
I trust you.
I mean, I guess in time of war,
you do things like that.
You do things like that. It did seem odd to me that he didn't just get in the car too.
There was room.
Yeah, they could have made it work.
They could have squeezed in. Yeah.
One of the kids could have sat on his lap.
Yeah, there was no reason for him to stay behind.
Then she's driving with these kids, and she makes a lot of jokes like, I got 5 kids now. How'd I get all these kids?
Because you got to keep things light.
Got to keep things light when you're evacuating during war.
Yeah.
The army guy runs into this woman, a separate woman, who's like, hey, can I get in your car? Because he's got a car too. He's driving somewhere.
Right.
He's got an army Jeep.
Yes.
And he's like, no. And then he changes his mind and is like, okay. And she's got a big trunk because she's getting married. So he drops her off at like a train station.
Right.
The bridge that the woman's on with those 5 kids gets bombed. The woman meets up with the friend again. He's like, you got a lot of kids. And she's like, yeah, I do.
That joke never gets old.
She's like, I'm a mom now. But she never seems too concerned about the kids' well-being.
No.
She seems like incredibly flippant.
Yeah.
Given the situation. She drives to an orphanage.
Yes.
How did she find an orphanage without Google Maps?
I don't know how anybody did anything before Google Maps.
No.
I mean, how do you know where even north and south are?
Yes,
without
I
Google
agree.
Maps?
I agree. And then the kids are like, we love you. We don't want to be abandoned here with these nuns who are running the orphanage. And she's like, okay, I guess I'll keep the kids.
It's easy as that.
Easy as that.
Yeah.
The car really lasts a long time.
Yeah.
And they seem to have a lot of fuel because they're in that car burning gas for so many miles, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
So she's like, all right, I'm going to keep the kids. And she keeps driving. And somehow her and the army guy and the army guy's friend all meet up at this place. She's like, hey, I still want you. And then she says a bunch of racist stuff about his current girlfriend.
Yes, that's right.
And he doesn't seem to mind that at all.
No.
He's like, okay, let's hook up.
Yeah, he's still right.
He's like, if you're down, I'm down.
Yeah. He's kind of a weird character.
I don't
he's
really
a weird
get
guy.
what his deal is.
I don't understand him.
Yeah.
And they're kind of positioning him as like he's a hero, but is he?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then back in America, there's this general guy who is a real guy. What was his name?
General MacArthur.
General MacArthur's there. They're like, hey, MacArthur, you're going to go over and help win the war. And he's like, I'm too old to win the war.
That's so funny that he has these doubts like, what if I'm too old for this? And it's like, that's not good.
No.
That's not a good thing to think.
Yeah. And his wife's like, you're still spry. I love you.
Do they live? Where do they have like a house?
Where they live.
Yeah. It's like they have a very domestic life near the battlefield.
I think he does fly over at some point.
Oh, he fly. Okay.
Yeah, he gets on a plane, I think.
Okay. All right.
But he's like, okay, I guess I will do it. And then he's like, come on, doggy. And like, so at first I was like, is he taking his dog to war? And then him and the dog leave. But it was like, oh no, he was just talking about later. So I guess he took the dog for a walk and then he comes back.
Oh, yeah.
And they hang out for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And he continues to talk about his insecurities about being old. And his wife is like, you're great. So then he's like, okay, I'm gonna show these boys how to fight.
Yeah. Is this when he goes to like a statue of Julius Caesar and he goes, what do you think? What do you think,
that
Caesar?
Part somehow.
That's his hero, Julius Caesar. And
nice.
Yeah.
We cut to war correspondents in America.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, all right, you guys are going to go over and you're going to cover the war. And this guy's like, but I'm a music journalist. I cover the opera. And they're like, I don't give a fuck.
Get out there.
You're going to war.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I guess I'm going to war.
Yeah. And he's like, this sounds terrible.
Yeah, and it does. Also, like, would you really do that?
If I had a music journalist, I wouldn't want to suddenly make them a war
That's
journalist.
what you would think that there would be war journalists, like that there would be people who do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they want to cover.
There was peace for too long. Everybody became a music journalist.
Yeah. And then all
everybody's
of a sudden,
writing about opera.
It's like we got to take the opera
No more
budget.
opera.
Yeah, we're cutting the opera staff.
So then he flies over in a plane, I think with the general for some reason. I think they're on the same trip over. The war correspondent who used to write about music is puking because he's a wussy boy.
Yeah, yeah. This is played by Rex Reed, the film critic.
I don't know who that is.
He's like, he's not an actor, as evidenced by the movie.
I didn't think he was worse than anyone else in the movie.
Yeah, he's like, it's interesting because he's a very harsh film critic, but he appears in a lot of bad films.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, I know how to tell if they're bad. I just don't care.
But I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I'll be in one.
Yeah. So they go over there. War still happening. This part was unclear to me, but the general comes to the army guy and is like, to win the battle, we must first win the lighthouse.
And as they always do.
Yeah. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
I was reading on Wikipedia later. That's not true to life.
That's not what really happened.
In the war, there was no lighthouse. They just made up the lighthouse thing. Because I was like, how can that be true? How can the war hinge upon you turning on a lighthouse? You would think that like the submarines and the boats would have enough technology that they wouldn't be relying on this one lighthouse.
Yeah, and that seems incredibly old-fashioned. Like we gotta capture the lighthouse.
Yeah,
but this is 1950 something.
But again, it's not true.
But it didn't even happen.
They made it up for the movie.
So that's even worse. They thought like, oh, this will be a great climax.
Yeah, they were like, this will be epic.
Yeah, the lighthouse.
Yeah. And for some reason, his girlfriend's dad also turns up.
He shows up.
And he's like, I thought you were anti-war. And he's like, I'm doing it too now.
I heard about the lighthouse, but I just had to come.
I gotta help get that lighthouse.
Yeah.
They go on a boat over to the lighthouse. The general, the war guy, and the girlfriend's dad.
Right.
For a little bit there, it seems like they're not going to get this lighthouse.
Yeah.
The general makes a call to his higher-ups, and he's like, we are in trouble because I am so old. And I was like, why is he talking like that?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Is he doing that on purpose for some reason? And then they get the lighthouse, and he's like, psych, I was talking slowly because I thought we would win after all, so I didn't want to actually turn in my resignation if we did win. And I was like, but why did he call them? He was like, I should resign because I am old and we are not getting the lighthouse. Psych! We got the lighthouse. It's on. The light is on.
He was over-explaining things for no reason just to prolong the letter.
Like mission control is just like, okay, dude. Like,
yeah, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then the lighthouse comes on.
And then the lighthouse turns on, and everybody's like, yeah, the lighthouse. I was like, okay, well, now the real battle is going to begin.
No.
Because now the ships can see where they're going, so we're going to see them conquer or whatever.
Right.
But we don't see the rest of the battle that supposedly they triumphantly won because of the lighthouse. We only see the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Which not a lot happened in.
Nothing happened. Yeah, it was very uneventful.
Yeah. So then we cut to the general, and he says the entire Lord's Prayer.
Oh, this was great.
As a speech.
Yeah.
To like the whole nation.
You're expecting this great speech like the Gettysburg Address or something.
I was like, all right, we're gonna hear something.
Right, and he starts. It's like,
our Father who art in heaven, How will be thy name?
And everybody's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Say something original.
Except they don't do that. They're all like, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, wow. That's incredible. And then he just walks away.
Yeah. I was like, did people like that? Did the guy actually do that? Did you look that part up?
I thought I remembered reading that he did do that.
He did.
Yeah, that he did the Lord's Prayer.
Wild move.
And that was like a famous
Because
thing.
as a Christian nation, we're not going to come down on you for doing that, but it is cheating.
You
didn't
cheating.
Write it. You're supposed to write a good speech.
He should have been like, told you about the lighthouse. It was going to work.
Once you get the lighthouse, you win a war.
You all doubted me because I was old. He starts yelling at everybody.
But you know what old men know about lighthouses.
all his plans were like old man bit. Like, let's watch some birds, collect some stamps, and then we'll take over the lighthouse.
And then we're just about done.
Yeah.
I see you've got some notes there.
I've got notes.
I wrote
them a while ago because I watched it. Full disclosure, we watched this movie like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and we had a lot of technical problems in setting up our podcast setup.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey for us to be with you here today.
We empathize with people who make movies because it takes a lot of technical stuff.
We had to plug in so many different things and unplug them before we plugged in the right things.
You have no idea.
No idea how many wires I have off camera.
Unplug, plug. Ronald Reagan liked this movie. He was floored by it. He's
floored?
Yeah, he saw
What
it
part?
and he was like, "Oh my God, this is powerful." And he said, "And we're the good guys." On top of every crime he ever committed, he also has terrible taste.
Mm-hmm. So. Yes, he does. I like how he was like, here's one example of us being good. I'm floored.
Oh, here was one of my favorite lines. The terrible guy who's cheating on his wife.
Oh, yeah.
The argument scene that he has with his wife, which is like, I don't even know why we're even dealing with this storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that storyline really did not go anywhere.
No. But he says to her, he goes, "I'm a Marine. That's a special kind of cat." I was like, all right, buddy. What
and
else
cat means man.
And don't you forget it.
Yeah.
And that was Laurence Olivier who played MacArthur, who's like considered one of the best Shakespearean actors. And
I am old.
He didn't do it.
And I don't know if I can get the lighthouse. But in his defense, I don't think you could have made that part interesting.
You couldn't.
It was confusing because he was one of the main characters, but he really didn't have a lot to say. What he said was weird.
The makeup took 2.5 hours.
For what were they doing?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look anything like anything. And
it looks like just like a caked on foundation that's almost the right shade but not quite, kind of like when you see a corpse made up at a funeral parlor.
Yeah.
And then it looks like he's got some eyeliner on, maybe mascara, but that's it. It doesn't
drawn
else.
on eyebrows.
Oh yeah,
they look like drawn with like a pencil.
The hair is also like waxed back.
It's bad.
It looks like he's like going to the Jersey Shore.
He didn't look like Douglas MacArthur or himself or anybody or any person.
He looked like if a gangsta was dead.
It looked like Weekend at Bernie's, but with him just dragging the corpse out. Yeah. This was the most expensive film of the year.
Wow.
So it lost a lot of money.
They did have a lot of tanks and a lot of people.
There were a lot of people, a lot of tanks. So I guess, and they paid Olivier $1 million.
Wow.
So that's $1 million. And then extras.
Mm-hmm. Though I heard some people were volunteers because they wanted to help out the cause.
They're like, this film's too important.
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah.
You know what he looked like? He looked
What?
like the Duracell guy. Remember those commercials with the Duracell family?
I only remember there being a bunny. I don't remember a guy.
They were like robot people, and they would put Duracell batteries in their back.
Oh.
Google it.
Okay.
90s Duracell commercial family.
I believe you.
It was nightmarish, that family. So in preparation for this movie, the producers went to a psychic.
Classic.
And they connected with MacArthur from Beyond the Grave.
Oh, and what'd he say?
He blessed the film. He was like, do it.
He said, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name."
You liked it the first time, I'm bringing it back. He loves that prayer. He loves that
It
prayer.
is a classic.
It is a classic, yeah. Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Is that part of it?
On earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Now and at the hour of our death, amen.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
Had to pray many times before bed, or I thought I was going to die.
Jeez. Okay,
Yeah.
that's terrifying.
Now, Will, if you were tasked with making this movie better, how would you do it?
This was one where I was watching, I was like, can you even make fun of this with a friend? Like, it's not even like...
It's so boring.
It's so boring.
I don't think we emphasized how boring it was.
Yeah.
It was like I was watching war in real time.
Yeah.
It was like a live stream.
Yeah. I don't know what you could save.
I was trying to think about what makes a good war movie, because it's not my favorite genre.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I don't like people fighting, and I don't like to see it. But I do think it's a subject worth making films about. And I think one of the biggest things that this movie was lacking was character depth. The three main characters that we were introduced to were very like surface level, didn't really give you much of anything to care about, didn't really even seem to care that much about themselves or that they were in war. They didn't even seem worried that they were going to die.
Yeah.
They seemed to be kind of like, whatever. Let me get some more furniture. Let me wander around town. And I'm not saying anything that MacArthur... Is that was his name?
MacArthur.
MacArthur.
Yeah.
He must have had a personality in real life that they could have drawn from, right?
Yeah. I feel like
he didn't have any personality in this movie.
Yeah, they didn't really take the idea of making a movie about him seriously.
Yeah.
And they didn't...
He didn't even show up until like over an hour into it.
It was a long time.
We spent a long time with this couple who's not real people, which could be okay. You know, historical fiction can work sometimes. But the thing is, they weren't together, and we weren't rooting for them to be together. Yeah. Because it seemed like they both moved on and were fine with it.
Right.
We didn't really learn anything about them as people.
I think you need some characters that are interesting.
Yes.
And to have some, drama to them and a conflict.
Some stakes.
Yeah.
What do they want? She did want to go to Philadelphia, but it also didn't seem like she even really cared much about Philadelphia.
I mean, that could be a movie where you want to go to Philadelphia, I guess. But
could be.
Yeah, but...
Could even call it Philadelphia 2, because there's already a movie called Philadelphia. I think it's about something completely different. I don't remember.
They should just name because this is named Inchon.
Yeah.
And that takes place in Inchon.
Yeah.
Every movie should just be named after where they are.
Yeah, so we need characters that are compelling.
Yeah.
And I think that it could have also been like shot in a more interesting way. Pretty much all the violence was like such wide shots that like even though like any sort of violence is upsetting on some level, it wasn't as visceral as the types of war movies where you're like really in there.
Yeah.
You're seeing people's like expressions and like injuries up close. Not that I want to see a lot of injuries, but you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
And then I also feel like The lighthouse thing, they didn't need to invent that.
Cut it.
However the real battle went down, show us that instead.
Exactly. Show us the actual battle.
If you want the movie to be an advertisement for a cult, like, we got to mention the cult and build them up.
You gotta have a whole thing. Someone comes out at the end of the movie and goes, hey, if you like that, you'll love our cult.
But they could have had a main character who was in it, who was like a compelling person,
right?
Who was doing good shit and we were rooting for,
right?
And maybe somehow his faith in whatever that organization is made him save the day.
And everybody's like, why are you so great? And they're like, I'm part of the Unification Church.
Yeah, and he's like, because I'm friends with a little man named Jesus Christ.
Maybe you heard of him?
Maybe you heard of him. He carries me through battle.
Yeah.
Those boot prints you saw, not mine, Jesus's.
That's him carrying me.
That's him carrying me. I've got the gun, he's got the boots.
And don't you forget it.
Was there another segment that we did besides how we would make I'm trying to remember.
I think that was it.
I think that's what we
did.
do.
Did this deserve
Oh,
it?
You're right. Did this deserve the Razzie? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So much.
I mean, I forgot to look at the other movies that were nominated, but this was bad.
This was so bad.
Yeah.
I am someone who really believes in not multitasking while watching a movie. Even though it's difficult, I will power through on most movies, not this one.
Yeah.
This one, I have to admit, I was on my phone and it was still not enough stimulation. I was thinking of other things I could do. I had to pause it every 20 minutes or so and like take a walk.
Yeah, get your bubble games or whatever you play.
Chew some gum.
Chew some gum.
Twiddle your fingers.
Crossword puzzle, something.
Sudoku even.
Sudoku, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a movie to sit down and watch. Or you probably should skip it altogether.
Yes, just listen to us. And which, if you're hearing this, you are.
And I know you're tempted. You're like, come on, it's Friday night. I want to watch Inchon.
Because it is free on YouTube. So if you
YouTube's
really want to try it,
try
it for yourself.
YouTube's been an incredible resource for these bad films.
Yeah, so many are just available.
Yeah.
Any last words, Will?
No, I think, I mean...
What else is there to say?
What else can there be said? Yeah, I mean...
Should I say the Our Father once more? No, I won't.
You know what? I feel like also the lighthouse might have been like a miniature model, and I wonder if there's a way we can buy it.
Just put it in my apartment.
Yeah, as a keepsake.
I'll look into it. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Anyways, guys, if you like this podcast, which if you're still listening, I think you like it. I think you do. You should subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, because we're going to keep releasing these every week.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. We're going to get our shit together enough to be consistent for a while.
We're like MacArthur prolonging that goodbye resignation.
Even though I'm old, I can still release a podcast. Well, join us next week where we're going to review another movie that's also bad or maybe good. Ooh, we don't know yet.
Next week is Lonely Lady.
Yeah. Okay, bye.